It is known throughout the dark underbelly of history as the ultimate grimoire of madness, a forbidden text so terrifyingly potent that simply reading its fragile pages is said to shatter the human mind and summon entities older than the stars themselves. The Necronomicon. Throughout modern history, thousands of occultists, historians, antique book collectors, and brave seekers of the uncanny have scoured ancient European libraries and secret underground archives, desperate to find a single physical copy of what many consider to be the most dangerous book ever written. Bound in rotting human skin and inscribed in the dark blood of the damned, it allegedly contains the exact geometric sigils, precise incantations, and blood rituals required to pierce the delicate veil that separates our fragile reality from the monstrous, swirling void. But does this cursed tome actually exist in the physical world, locked away in the deepest vaults of the Vatican or the shadowy catacombs beneath the British Museum? Or is it the greatest literary hoax ever conceived, a fictional masterpiece of cosmic horror that somehow broke through the rigid boundaries of imagination and invaded our physical reality? Tonight, we step into the terrifying intersection of myth, forbidden literature, and real-world occultism. Welcome to Midnight Mysteries. Are you ready to learn the truth? To truly understand the terrifying myth of the Necronomicon, we must travel back to the early 20th century and trace its origins to a solitary, deeply troubled author living in the quiet, historic city of Providence, Rhode Island, Howard Phillips Lovecraft. In 1924, Lovecraft introduced a fictional, mysterious book into his short horror stories, giving it the imposing Greek title Necronomicon, which roughly translates to an image or epitome of the law of the dead. According to Lovecraft's incredibly rich and intricate mythology, the book was originally composed around the year 730 AD in the ancient city of Damascus. Its author was a brilliant, eccentric, yet deeply insane Arab poet named Abdul Alhazred. Known among his contemporaries as the Mad Arab, Alhazred spent decades wandering completely alone through the desolate, sun-scorched deserts of the Middle East. He traversed the feared Rub al-Khali, the infamous Empty Quarter, a vast, unforgiving ocean of sand that local Bedouins believed to be inhabited by malevolent spirits, deadly jinns, and forgotten monsters. There, among the crumbling stone ruins of subterranean cities that predated human civilization, Alhazred claimed to have pierced the veil of normal perception. He made direct contact with colossal cosmic entities known as the Old Ones, monstrous godlike beings such as Cthulhu, Nyarlathotep, and Yog-Sothoth, who had ruled the cosmos eons before humanity ever took its first breath. Lovecraft wrote about this forbidden grimoire with such staggering academic precision that the boundary between fantasy and historical reality began to blur almost instantly. He did not simply mention the book in passing, he crafted a meticulous, highly believable pseudo-historical chronology for the tome. In his private essays, fictional histories, and extensive letters to fellow writers, Lovecraft claimed that Alhazred's original Arabic manuscript was initially titled Kitab al-Azif. The word azif referred to a specific eerie nocturnal noise heard in the desert, a high-pitched whistling or buzzing made by desert insects, which ancient Arab folklore attributed to the demonic howling of spirits gathering in the dark. According to Lovecraft's detailed backstory, this horrific Arabic text was secretly translated into Greek in the year 950 AD by a scholar named Theodorus Philetus of Constantinople, who gave it the name Necronomicon. The book was quickly deemed a supreme threat to human salvation. Religious authorities, horrified by the violent outbreaks of madness and ritualistic horrors that followed anyone who experimented with its pages, ordered the grimoire to be suppressed, banned, and systematically burned. Yet, despite centuries of destruction, a few rare translated copies allegedly survived in absolute secrecy, handed down through generations of underground occult societies. Lovecraft cleverly grounded his lie in reality by claiming that these surviving copies were hidden under maximum security within famous, real-world institutions. The Bibliothèque Nationale in Paris, the British Museum in London, the University of Buenos Aires, and the fictional Miskatonic University in Arkham. By intertwining world-renowned historical archives with his fictional universe, Lovecraft subtly planted a permanent seed of doubt in the minds of his readers. As Lovecraft's stories spread through pulp magazines and word of mouth, something unprecedented and bizarre began to happen in the real world. Readers, occult enthusiasts, and spiritual seekers stubbornly refused to accept that the Necronomicon was merely a product of one man's vivid imagination. The human psyche harbors a primal fascination with forbidden knowledge, and soon an underground movement began to suspect that Lovecraft had not invented the Necronomicon at all. Instead, they believed he was a sensitive channeler, a man who had received the terrifying contents of a genuine, ancient grimoire through dark, vivid dreams or secret occult lineages. Whispers began to circulate through esoteric secret societies. Rumors claimed that Lovecraft's grandfather was a high-ranking Freemason who possessed an authentic, hidden copy of the ancient grimoire in his massive private library, and that young Lovecraft had simply adapted its terrifying, real-world rituals into digestible horror fiction. Antiquarian booksellers, university archivists, and librarians around the globe were suddenly inundated with frantic, serious requests from scholars and occultists desperate to inspect or buy a copy of the Necronomicon. In one famous instance of academic rebellion, a clever prankster even managed to surreptitiously insert an official catalog card for the Necronomicon into the card catalog system of the prestigious Yale University Library, cementing its status as an elusive, ghost-like artifact. The line between myth and reality became even more tangled when researchers began pointing to real historical figures who may have interacted with similar texts. In the 16th century, Dr. John Dee, the famous mathematician, astrologer, and royal advisor to Queen Elizabeth I, spent years attempting to communicate with angels and spirits using crystal scryings and complex mathematical grids. Esoteric folklore quickly claimed that during his travels in Europe, John Dee had discovered a hidden copy of the Necronomicon and translated it into English, keeping the manuscript guarded in his personal collection. Centuries later, the notorious British occultist Aleister Crowley, the self-proclaimed Great Beast 666, published ritual systems that shared disturbing, uncanny similarities with the cosmic entities described in Lovecraft's lore. Some occult historians still argue whether Crowley and Lovecraft had independently tapped into the exact same dark, ancient spiritual frequency. The myth reached its absolute cultural peak in 1977 with the publication of the infamous Simon Necronomicon. A mysterious editor operating under the pseudonym Simon released a leather-bound, commercially printed book claiming it was the first authentic, translated edition of the ancient grimoire ever offered to the public. This version was a brilliant, sinister synthesis. It blended Lovecraft's fictional pantheon of cosmic horrors with ancient Sumerian mythology, Babylonian demonology, and authentic ceremonial magic practices from late antiquity. The Simon edition presented itself not as entertainment, but as a dangerous, highly functional manual for summoning real entities. It was filled with intricate sigils, terrifying incantations in dead languages, and severe warnings that anyone attempting to walk its 7 gates without proper spiritual seals would suffer immediate insanity, physical destruction, or demonic attachment. The book became an explosive underground phenomenon, selling hundreds of thousands of copies worldwide. Curiosity drew thousands of amateur magicians, teenagers, and thrill-seekers to attempt the rituals in dark basements. Before long, disturbing urban legends began to proliferate. Stories of young people losing their minds, hearing persistent, unnatural whispers in empty rooms, or experiencing terrifying poltergeist activity after simply leaving the open book on their nightstands. While modern historians, literary scholars, and bibliophiles have exhaustively proven that a physical, 1,300-year-old book titled the Necronomicon never existed prior to Lovecraft's stories, the true, mind-bending terror lies in a powerful concept known in esoteric philosophy as an egregore. In occult theory, an egregore is an autonomous, non-physical entity or spiritual energy field that is birthed into existence through the focused belief, collective emotion, and willpower of a large group of people. Because millions of human beings over the last century have read about the Necronomicon, obsessively searched for it, believed in its terrifying potential, and actively performed rituals using its printed symbols, the book has effectively manifested its own real energy into our physical world. In the modern movement known as chaos magic, practitioners actively use the Necronomicon in their rituals today. They argue that whether Lovecraft consciously made up the book or not is completely irrelevant. Through decades of human belief, fear, and intent, the symbols, names, and cosmic entities associated with the Necronomicon have acquired a very real, measurable psychological and spiritual power. Humanity, through its own dark curiosity, brought the myth to life. The ultimate mystery of the Necronomicon is not whether an ancient book bound in human skin is gathering dust in a secret vault beneath Rome or London. The true mystery is how a simple fiction, crafted by an impoverished writer in a quiet Rhode Island apartment, managed to break free from the printed page, infect the collective unconscious of the human race, and transform into a living, breathing, occult reality that unsettles people to this very day. Was Howard Phillips Lovecraft merely a brilliant master of cosmic horror with an unparalleled imagination? Or was he an unwitting medium, a man whose fragile mind accidentally tapped into dark, timeless truths floating in the void, truths that humanity was never meant to comprehend? The physical paper and ink may be a modern invention, but the ancient cold darkness it represents has been waiting for us all along. If you enjoyed this extended chronicle, make sure to like the video, share it with fellow seekers of the unknown, and leave a comment below. Do you believe the Necronomicon was pure fiction, or did Lovecraft uncover something real? This was Midnight Mysteries. See you in the next video when the lights go out.